What's up, everybody, and welcome to Early Edge Prime Time as we discuss the Bills and the Giants. Yes, the Giants again are on prime time. I'm sure some of you are taking a peek at that Eagles game, which really just shifted with the Jets taking the lead. So you're allowed to keep an eye on that, and you're allowed to keep an eye on this. We'll be with you for another 45 minutes, talking bets, talking our official plays, and of course, talking gems and responding to your chat questions. Coach, by the way, will be back here tomorrow. He'll be back in the captain's seat in the morning for the 10 a.m. show. But again, I am the captain of the ship right now. But the captain, well, I need some players. I need some pros. I need some guests. So let's get to our crew today. A great crew it is. Not only do we have Coach Phil, as usual, and AB and Proppy, but we got the maestro. We're bringing in the big guns, of course. Proppy, I got to ask you, because you sat down in your chair, and it occurred to you the moment you sat down, the Eagles are in a little bit of trouble. What are you thinking right now?
I don't even know what to think. See, last I checked, they were in the Jets in the red zone up 2 points, having missed a field goal, which is uncharacteristic considering the Eagles have a very good field goal kicker. And then the next thing I knew, they had the ball back and they were driving down again. So pretty shocking turn of events, especially against this Jets team. But that's the NFL. The 49ers lost today. So, yeah, it's hard to stay perfect in this league. You're getting the best shot of the opposing team every week.
It just goes to show that the NFL, there's so much parity that you make one mistake at any point in the game, it can really come back to haunt you. Jalen Hurts makes a mistake with an interception, just an ill-advised throw where you can just kind of have an incomplete pass, punt it, and make the Jets go the full length of the field, which, of course, they were having trouble doing. All right. Well, listen, we start our shows by going to Coach Phil, of course, because we need our keys to the game. And, Coach, just like Thursday night, you have 4 keys to the game. Let's get to them.
Sure. So we got the New York Giants are going on the road to the Buffalo Bills. The Giants are 1-4. The Bills are 3-2. The Bills are coming off that funny loss in London, in England last week to the Jacksonville Jaguars, looking to get back on track. We start with the New York Giants, and the first key would be they must generate points. We need touchdowns. Tyrod Taylor's going to be in at quarterback. Daniel Jones has a neck injury. He'll be down. Waller's got to score some touchdowns this season. He's got no touchdowns on the year. We need to make sure we're getting the ball in the end zone because this Bills team is going to score some points. All right. They only have 5 touchdowns on the year, so we're really looking for the New York Giants offense to get going here on Sunday night. The second thing would be the defense must create turnovers. And probably just talked about how the Browns got one done. And if the Jets are going to get one done today against the Eagles as we speak, how are they going to do it? The recipe for an upset is creating turnovers. How do you do it? Well, you pressure the quarterback, create ill-advised throws like Sia just said. You know, you can punch the ball out of a ball carrier like a peanut punch, or a special team to come into play, you know, with a muffed kick, a blocked kick. There's a lot of different ways to create turnovers, and that's what the Giants are going to have to do tonight. Switching over to Buffalo, they need to establish a consistent run game. You know, James Cook can get going a little bit, and then all of a sudden he has a week where he only has a few yards here and there. They had 29 total rushing yards last week against Jacksonville. They have to get going. And it's so important that they get going because if James Cook can establish the run, then all of a sudden Stephon Diggs is open and Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox can get cooking. So the run game is really paramount in all of NFL football. You have to do that. You have to have balance. You talk about that every week. And the second thing is, and this is more of a chemistry experiment, they have to overcome the injuries to the key players that they've had. They lost Matt Milano. He was there in 2017. When we drafted him, I was with the Bills. And then also they lost Tre'Davious White, the same draft class a few weeks before. Those are 2 all-pro caliber players. And there's going to be other players. And NFL players typically do step up when their number is called. But just how long does it take? Does that defense take a couple steps back and just seeing how they come together? And if you want to see a team fly around and with great pursuit and trying to get turnovers, the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott defense, that's one of the teams that you can watch.
Absolutely love it. We're going to touch on all of those points as we go through here. The chat, I'm sure most of you know by now, the Jets have beaten the Eagles. So San Francisco loses to Cleveland. Philly loses, of course, to the Jets just now, and we don't have any undefeated teams left. That's crazy. I can't believe they lost that game the way they were playing late in the game. Maestro, I want to go to you. So keying on Phil's points, I actually want to give out my pick first, but I got to go to you because you went 11-5 this week. But what's funny about that is the picks, the 3 picks you gave out on the show, the show earlier in the week. It just so happens that of your 5 losses, those 3 lost. And one of them was, speaking of, and this is why I'm going to it, because I think this Eagles loss is pretty interesting. I don't think anybody thought it would go that way. You had a loss about 30 minutes ago where the Patriots endured a safety and you didn't get your cover. Just speak to that real quick.
You know, you have to blame yourself for betting on the Patriots. In fact, I even said last week I would never bet them again after they had a no-show at home against the Saints. And yet I went back to the well thinking if there's ever a spot where they show up after being outscored 72-3 with Josh McDaniels facing Bill Belichick against a terrible Raiders defense, and yet they still managed to do nothing most of the game. Then they get a couple late touchdowns. And then when they had the ball inside the 10, just watch the highlight of Devontae Parker dropping a beautiful 50-yard bomb from Mac Jones. The safety to lose the cover at +3. Just a classic Patriots way to lose. I'm off them. Do not let me bet them next week.
No, I will make sure I don't let you bet them. Alan, listen, you haven't spoken yet. I don't want to get to your no-fly zone. I don't want to get to your picks yet. I'm actually going to go first here, but I got to ask, we're 5 minutes into the show. I haven't spoken with you yet. How's everything going today?
Man, it's going good, man. And we talked about it earlier today that, this would be a wild Sunday in the NFL, and we've seen it, and it mirrors what we saw yesterday in college football, right? And, Phil, we'll talk about this later on, but, again, your thoughts of how a season goes, right? You have a beginning, all right, now we're starting to get bye weeks. We're starting to get injuries that pile up. We're starting to, see, different players. You spoke about it with the Bills in regards to chemistry. It could be, positive, or it could be, we got to work on this a little bit. So we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, man, like we're starting to get into that portion of the season to where, all right, buddy, you know what I mean? Like things change. We have to adapt. We have to be ready. And we only have 4 days really to get ready for these games. So yeah, man, we're starting to see it.
All right. Speaking of adapting, let me give my pick out. And by the way, the odds in this game, they really fluctuate a little bit here and there, but we've got a point spread of 15.5. We've got a total here of 43.5. This is just one of those games that I think most people are like, all right, this is kind of gross. Like even if Daniel Jones was in this game, I think people would be like, I'm not so sure about this game. Fortunately, it does present betting opportunities. I kind of have a scary one, just like Thursday night when I had that first quarter Denver bet +3.5. Listen, I was uncomfortable with that bet too. This is a bet that's uncomfortable because I'm taking a New York Giant receiver. Now, Tyrod Taylor, listen, I think he's a good dude. I've talked to Phil, and he'll note probably later in the show how he knows and he's coached Tyrod in the past. But I think Tyrod's a good dude, but I just think he's way past his prime when it comes to his NFL career. And what I noticed when he played, I'm talking 4, 5, 6 years ago, he really doesn't go through his progressions. He looks at his first read and then he kind of looks down and he starts to kind of scamper around and usually ends up getting sacked or he throws it away. In this case, I think the New York Giants staff is going to acknowledge that. They're going to try to get quick throws out to guys in space that can make things happen after the catch. Enter Wan'Dale Robinson. I like his over here of 25.5 receiving yards. Yes, there are a lot of receivers for the New York Giants. I mean, Paris Campbell, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson. We got Darren Waller, who's effectively a receiver. There's just so many. I left out about 3, including Sterling Shepard and about 2 others. But the point here is I think Wan'Dale is definitely the most talented, especially Darius Slayton, of course. That's another one, especially when you get him in space. So I think we're going to see a lot of easy throws to Wan'Dale Robinson in the short area, easy throws for Tyrod. Get him in space, design some plays specifically for Wan'Dale, and get him over the 25.5 receiving yards. Good news here, too, is if he stays healthy the whole game, and I offer that caveat because he did have a slight knee injury earlier in the week, but it looks like he shook that off pretty quick. But if we get to garbage time, that's even more Wan'Dale Robinson. And again, I don't think Tyrod is going to be looking to throw down the field. I just don't think that's his game. Yeah, he'll try it. I just don't think he'll be very successful. So I think Wan'Dale Robinson, we took him a couple weeks ago. We had a lean on his over of 18.5 receiving yards. I don't think this is really high enough. It's only low like this at 25.5 because we have so many receivers. It's hard to put a high total on any of these Giants receivers. So that's my play. And it's scary. It's a New York Giant receiver, but Coach Phil, let me go to you before we get to Maestro's picks here, because any response, I know we were talking earlier, and obviously taking any New York Giants in any capacity, especially in an over, kind of a tough scene. What do you think of this play?
I am hesitant because I agree with your assessment of quick passing to help Tyrod out. Tyrod's a 6-foot player, so sometimes these 6'6" linemen, if they get push and penetration, some of the 7-step, the deeper in-breaking stuff, he can't see it. And it's just the facts. And and you need a clean pocket. So if you're having a hard time protecting the quarterback, which we know they have, then of course the schematic advantage of getting the ball out quickly with the quick pass game, the sticks, all the different things that you're talking about, the screens, some of the different things. I agree that those are going to be most likely implemented into this game plan, especially early. The where I find it difficult is with 6 names that are about equal talent. Maybe Wan'Dale's better than Slayton, maybe he's not. It's all subjective. But having 6 names and a tight end, it's hard to zero in on one guy getting the 125 yards, and when I can't even guarantee that the protection is going to be satisfactory enough to get the pass game going at all anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think the protection is going to be great either, especially with the offensive linemen still out. But again, that's why I'm going to a receiver that's in the short area. He's not a guy that you need to get down the field like a Paris Campbell or Darius Slayton. Proppy, go ahead.
One thing regarding Wan'Dale that I do like about him is over 25% of his targets he's a first read on. So that just indicates to me that the Giants are dedicated to getting him the football, and he is a big part of the game plan. So I do like Wan'Dale. I totally think Coach Phil has a great point regarding there's a lot of wealth to spread, and it's hard to rely on any of these receivers individually. But to me, the Giants are really dedicated to getting him the football.
Yeah, and Gord Morrow in the chat, he says, Sia, do you like Wan'Dale's over 3.5 receptions at -105? I do like that, actually. I expect him to get 4 catches. Again, it's the Giants. Like Coach Phil pointed out, there's a lot of receivers out there, but I do think Wan'Dale's going to be featured partially because we have Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. So, Larry, let's get to your picks. You've got 2 picks here, and they're on the other side of the ball, so I think people are going to be a little bit more comfortable with what you have to say.
Yeah, and I know we've seen crazy things today with 2 big upsets, but the Giants team does not fit that profile. The Jets and the Browns, they bring serious defenses to the table. The Giants give up 6.3 yards per play, second worst only to the Broncos. The Giants also have the worst offense in football, 4.0 yards per play, and that's with Daniel Jones in the lineup. I mean, this is going to be a massacre, in my opinion. The only reason I don't want to lay the points is because I do think there could be a late garbage touchdown, and the Bills' defense is very injured, but the Bills' offense is not injured. So that's why I'm going over 29.5 team total for the Bills. They keep their foot on the gas. Look what they did to the Commanders, to the Raiders, to the Dolphins. 3 bad defenses put up 37, 38, and 48. This qualifies as a defense that's worse than all 3 of those. I think it's a great bounce back spot, especially for Josh Allen. Not that he needs much of a bounce back. Threw for 350 last week. I think he's have a big game throwing because the Giants invite you to pass with their blitz and their man coverage. But that man coverage that they refuse to get away from, even though they have a lot of rookie corners out there, is going to lead to Josh Allen running the ball, in my opinion, because they're playing man. He can take off. He can get over his rushing prop tonight in 1 carry. I think he'll have, 3 to 5 carries at minimum. We saw Josh Dobbs get 41 rushing yards against this Giants defense, and it's all because of Wink Martindale. He'll keep blitzing. They're not going to get a lot of pressure. I just think the Bills are in for a massive offensive game tonight.
Yeah, this really could be a massacre on the scoreboard when you look at it, especially when you evaluate the injuries here too. All right. I'm going to wait. I'm going to make people wait a little bit longer for AB's no-fly zone and his picks. Just a couple more minutes, so everybody relax. I know you can't wait for the graphics and Phil's response to them. But Proppy, let me ask you this. I know you don't have an official play for this show, but you do have some leans as it relates to James Cook. I mean, you look at his rushing prop, 57.5 yards-ish. It depends on what site you're looking at, but BetMGM, I believe, is in that 57.5 range. Total yards, rushing and receiving, around 77.5. Rushing attempts, 12.5. So, I mean, anything that you like, because again, given the game script that Larry put out there, you would think that James Cook would be the beneficiary of some run.
Yeah, I like James Cook quite a bit. Coach Phil mentioned him in the early keys to the game. I just think he's by far the most talented running back on this roster. Explosive. He has a 3-down skill set. I like his combination line as well. Able to contribute as a receiver out of the backfield. He really struggled last week, but all of the running backs on Buffalo struggled. So I think this is a great opportunity against just a terrible Giants run defense to get back on track for James Cook, especially if he's seeing double-digit carries, which I anticipate him to, and also to have some positive game script. So I like James Cook quite a bit tonight. I also love Gabriel Davis tonight. He is on the field for every single Josh Allen drop back. Also has the deepest A-dot. His average depth of target is deeper than any wide receiver or pass catcher on the Buffalo Bills, and you can find his receiving yards around 40 yards. So with Wink Martindale drawing up a lot of blitzes, not having a consistent pass rush either. I think he's going to get behind the defense for a couple of scores potentially, or at least a couple of big plays tonight. He can get that in one catch. So I really like Gabriel Davis as well tonight.
Yeah, a lot of receivers to like. You kind of hope that New York can push at least a little bit, maybe in the first half. And by the way, speaking of the first half, Rebecca has a play that I think is pretty interesting. AB, I'm going to go to you, and then please give out the no-fly zone in your picks. But Rebecca says, and Rebecca's sharp, by the way. And by the way, Rebecca, let me tell you this. I went and saw the Pat McGee Band yesterday with John Popper right down the street at Capital One Hall, and they played Rebecca as their last song. It was amazing. I thought of you. AB, what do you think of her first half play? She has, or she wants to play, the Bills -7.5 first half. It actually sounds pretty sharp given how good the Bills are and really how the Giants have played in first halves. Have they scored an offensive touchdown in first halves yet? I'm not even so sure that's true.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, number one, we're always on board with Rebecca's plays regardless because she crushes it. And number two,
yes,
I love this play. And we're going to get into it here in just a second, that the Bills coming off of that loss in London, this is a very serious game for Buffalo. Josh Allen has not been joking around this week. He said he is tired of basically the bull crap, and we need to get focused and get ourselves in order. I wouldn't be surprised to see Buffalo come out. If they win the toss, give me the ball. Let's go. Our offense is our team. This is how we win, and we're going to go down and score, and we're just going to continue to do it all night long. So, yeah, like I think that Rebecca is spot on in regards to that. Now, let's take a look at how they will do that. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's pull up the no-fly zone here. We're going to start with Josh Allen, okay? Everybody knows Josh Allen. You've seen him. This is basically what Josh Allen is like. If you're new here to the no-fly zone at the early edge, essentially the top left, what you have are the Giants' secondary defensive completion percentage ranks across the NFL. Bottom left, Josh Allen interception splits this season. And on the right is Josh Allen. Okay, now, so you see Josh Allen, bottom left, third down, 80% of his 5 interceptions this year. 80% of his 5 interceptions this year on his own 21-50. All right, the Giants, yes, defense does have some injuries and some young players, but that Wink Martindale, pressure that they can get does cause problems, and it could for guys like Josh Allen. You notice that it's all on the right side, meaning if he's rolling out to his right, that means he's probably under pressure, and he's probably going to run, think about it, and then just toe it up, right? That's what he does. If he's rolling out to his left, even more, throwing across, really, all over it here. Now, that is Josh Allen, okay? He can run, fumble, all of that, but that's what he looks like. Now, here is the fun. We don't have full data on Tyrod Taylor, especially with the Giants, okay? So understand that going in. But never one to back down from a challenge. And we have Coach Phil, who has coached Tyrod Taylor twice in his career. So I went and put together basically an amalgam of Tyrod Taylor's career as a starting quarterback and what he looks like when he has full time and what a game looks like for him. So let's pull this up. And this is Tyrod, the Tyrod Taylor experience. Okay. Now, bottom right, you see essentially a 61.5% completion percentage. Those for about 190 yards per game. In a full season, 17 TDs, 5 interceptions. He'll put some TDs up. Now, on the bottom left, this is what I'm fired up about. All right, I went through all of it. Roughly 83.3% of Tyrod Taylor's interceptions, okay, is when he has no motion pre-snap, okay? Also, 100% of his interceptions come in one tight end sets. Now, it's not fully, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, but it is when he has 1 tight end. So pay attention to tight ends on the field for the Giants. Pay attention to motion or no motion pre-snap. Now, on the right, you see Tyrod Taylor. That's essentially what his passing chart looks like. Deep left, it's where he gets into trouble. He's going to look to complete passes that are short, all right? Keep them risk-free, all right? Take a look at the middle of the field, deep right, deep left. The Bills' defense, their plan tonight, completely shut down, all right? The Giants' run and force Tyrod Taylor to throw beyond 10 yards. It's very similar to playing against Jordan Love, as we looked at 15 yards. Okay. Now, that's what you have. Let me pull up my picks so that we could go over that and then get to Phil so we could take a look. But I did want to show one thing. What you do in practice against Tyrod, or, practicing for Tyrod Taylor. All right. We call them oven mitt games. All right. You get your defensive line and you practice, you put up oven mitts, tennis rackets. You are trying to get your hands up as the defensive line and knock balls down, because Tyrod Taylor, not the tallest quarterback in the world. You can get your hands up, knock them down, and create interceptions. Also look for the Giants to roll him out. I'm going to take this oven mitt off to roll him out so that you could create extra space for him. It'll cut out half of the field, but you can find safe plays there. Now, for my picks, I have 3 of them, and I will get to it right here. Bills. All right, second half team total over 13.5. Love Maestro's play of 29.5. I'm going to go with the second half. I'm going to also go, because the Bills have to win this game, and there's no stopping. You just continue to go. If you have to score 100 points, you score 100 points. You cannot stop. You just keep going. Second, Bills, total touchdowns as a team over 3.5, -120. Lastly, Giants, Bills, over 2.5 turnovers for what we just spoke about. Tyrod's going to turn it over. Josh Allen turns it over, especially when they're ahead, right? Because they do play aggressive. So we're going to play those 3. And like I said, I do want to give a shout out to the oven mitts, practicing for your defensive line, getting your hands up. All right. Knock those balls down from Tyrod. So take a step back.
Very appropriate of you to bring up the oven mitts on an Early Edge football show, given that our Early Edge fantasy league, or I should say SportsLine fantasy league, half the reason that Buckets is in first place is because he doesn't own oven mitts. He burned his hand, had to go to the hospital, and his brother had to take over the draft for him. So, AB, way to bring it full circle. Very impressive. Phil, let's try to bring the no-fly zone full circle. Any response to the Tyrod Taylor chart or the Josh Allen chart?
Sure. So just Josh is going to be a little bit shorter, so that one's a little bit easier to explain. It's third down. He's got 80%. Because that's just obvious. We talk about that. 4 picks on third down this year because he's trying to extend drives, keep the drive alive, move the chains, score points, and that's Josh, a little bit of a risk taker. He's aggressive and he really wants to try to finish the game early. So that one's pretty easy. When you flip over to Tyrod, I thought what you uncovered is pretty significant, because it goes into, like, overall my thought process of Tyrod is he does take care of the football, and unless there's some pocket integrity issues, unless there's some issues, he really does a great job with our 12 and 21 personnel stuff. That's where we're going to want to run the football with 2 tight ends, a fullback, all these different things. When you're talking about these 1 tight end sets, all right, we're talking about being behind, typically being in 11 personnel. We're in 2 minute, no motion. You never motion in 2 minutes. So all of these statistics speak exactly to what I'm saying, where if Tyrod's playing with a score, up or down, no problem. The ball's not going to be turned over. If it's from behind and now he has to be aggressive and fit into tight windows and ask him to push it down the field, that's where we get ourselves into trouble.
Absolutely. All right, go ahead, Larry.
The only thing I worry about with Tyrod Taylor is he going to finish the game? I mean, playing behind that line without Andrew Thomas and without the center, he got pressured on 10 of the 16 snaps when he came in last game. And now you've got Von Miller, Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, and you've got Tommy DeVito waiting in the wings. Syracuse and Illinois, undrafted. Wasn't terrible in the preseason, but there's a chance we see DeVito tonight.
Danny DeVito.
And I want to say real
Tommy
quick,
DeVito.
Oh, no, that's an excellent call from Maestro, and that's exactly why we're playing turnovers in this game and not specifically interceptions from Tyrod, because of that exact scenario. And DeVito, that's a tough dude. He's a fun quarterback, man. You're exactly right, Larry, for sure.
I'm literally picturing Danny DeVito at quarterback now, and it's actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
I want to catch Proppy in the middle of a laugh, but I'm not going to do that to him. I'm going to give him a minute. Larry, I want to go right back to you on Josh Allen, because we know you like Josh Allen props to some degree, but I'm sure some people are going to be interested in his passing yards specifically, which are around that 263.5 range. I'll note that his completions, 22.5, and pass attempts, 31.5. Are you interested in anything there from an over or under standpoint?
I like it over on the yards. I played over on the touchdowns. Personally played it at over 2, so we get a push on 2 on the site. We had the only option was 1.5, so I played it heavily juiced over 1.5. in neutral game situations, the opponents are passing on the Giants 70% of the time. That's just what Wink Martindale's defense gives you. So I expect a big, big night from Josh Allen.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, just on prime time after the loss last week, I feel like the Bills are really out for blood, and it's just such a good spot for them. Proppy, let me go to you because there were people in the chat earlier who mentioned Darren Waller. And for the record, Matt Milano's not playing in this game. He's out for the year. I actually think that helps Wan'Dale Robinson just because, Milano obviously patrols the middle of the field, and that's where I think Wan'Dale's going to be. But it certainly, I would think, helps Darren Waller to some degree because I would think those two would be matched up here and there. 38.5 receiving yards is where I'm seeing Darren Waller's yardage. Are you leaning over there, or is it a stay away?
Yeah, I'd lean over there for sure. I'd look to attack it from a volume-based standpoint, though. I'd be more comfortable playing his receptions. If you can find a line at 3.5, I think there are some lines at 4.5 as well at plus money. Yeah, I just think he's going to be heavily involved. It's going to be a negative game script, and we're just going to see a lot of passing volume. So definitely have no problem with Darren Waller, who's certainly the number one option for the Giants.
And Ali says Waller first touchdown plus 3,500. That number can't be right.
That can't be right.
Is. That sports book is amazing, and I need to be a part of it. AB, let me go to you because I know there's some receivers that we actually haven't talked about on the Buffalo Bills side. One is actually a tight end I wanted to ask you about. So Dalton Kincaid, I believe, is inactive today, and Dawson Knox has really been a guy that has had more of a role than I think anybody expected, because I think a lot of people, including myself, expected Dalton Kincaid to just kind of be the guy sort of right away because of what we saw at Utah last year. But Dawson Knox has a role. Now with Dalton Kincaid out, I see 31.5 receiving yards, and I think to myself, geez, I kind of like the over here. I just think it's such an easy target for Josh Allen. Do you like that? And I'll point out, Stephon Diggs is 86.5, pretty high, but it makes sense. The Giants pretty bad against wide receiver ones, and we talked about how they like to blitz. Diggs is a big-time target when Josh Allen is being blitzed. So Josh Allen, or I should say Stephon Diggs over 86.5 or Dawson Knox over 31.5. Do you like either of those?
Yeah, I like both. And let me pull up Josh Allen here on the no-fly zone because you brought up a great point that I wanted to show, okay? So you take a look at this here, all right? You look at the Giants. Their secondary, they can shut things down short because, why? They get pressure, all right? But when they bring pressure and don't get home, that leaves your deep secondary on an island, son. And Josh Allen, I think, the Bills are going to attack that big. So I like Diggs. You could see him multiple times catching long passes here. And you talk about Dawson Knox, a tight end that's been around this team and with Josh Allen for a while now. They definitely have chemistry. They definitely have a relationship. Yes, it hasn't been as great yardage-wise for Dawson Knox because they have so many options. But that being said, what do you use your tight end for? All right. Essentially, de facto run game, right? Short passing because it's safe, protected. Number two, in the red zone, right? So I like both of them, but watch especially early. Buffalo might look to seriously attack downfield because if the Giants bring it and you don't get home,
yeah,
buddy, you are in serious trouble.
Proppy, I'm going to come to you in a second, but Larry, by the look on your face, it looks like maybe you confirmed what Ali said and what some of the other people in the chat are saying about Darren Waller's first touchdown. It'll be a nice transition to what we're about to do next, but can you confirm that we've got a long number on Darren Waller?
Yeah, the number is right because nobody expects the Giants to score first, let alone in the first half at all. And he hasn't scored this season. So the number is right, even though he's the main target. And also Saquon coming back has to affect him a little bit.
It's a crazy number. Proppy, I know you had something to say, but I don't know if it had to do with Darren Waller. What you got?
Just wanted to confirm that he was, in fact, plus 3,500. That's crazy to me.
It is crazy. No matter how you conceive of this this Giants offense, who again hasn't scored an offensive touchdown in the first half. I mean, it just Darren Waller, the what we would all conceive of as the primary target, certainly in the red zone as well for Tyrod Taylor. I mean, I think that number should probably be Proppy, like plus 2,100 sounds about right, plus 1,800, but not plus 33 or 35.
I've already bet it once, like over the last minute at plus 3,500 for if that's any indication where I think it should be.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's probably a good time to go to our gems. Actually, usually my favorite part of the show because I'm always in the lead, but I can't say that anymore. I can't say that anymore because we have a guy that's hit back-to-back jacks when it comes to the first touchdown. So I'm actually not going to go first here. I'm going right to AB, who has the chance to do something that's never been done in SportsLine or early edge history. And that's go back to back to back Jack's first touchdown. So who do you got for your third in a row?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Look, we're trying to go Tom Amansky back to back to back. AAU national champion. I remember that commercial. I love it. All right. We're going to go from a deep track here on the Giant side. You talk about 3,100, which, by the way, great find. Love it. Smart play. I'm going to go 6,600. How about that? Jalen Hyatt, my dude, he has not put things together yet just because the Giants offense has had trouble. But you know what? Number one, if you're the Giants, go for it. Number two, we spoke about the Bills defense is going to look to stop the run at all costs and force Tyrod Taylor to beat him, meaning they could leave their deep secondary on an island. And you talk about a dude who could not only run these routes, he might be the fastest guy on the field. Dude, Jalen Hyatt, I'm going to take my shot here. And if we hit it back to back to back on a 6,600, I'm going to put a crown right beside mine as well. But you know what?
You'll be
Bills be in the club twice. Yeah, hey, we're paying bills in the club. Let's go.
You'll be goated for life on that one. I actually don't mind that call at all, because you would think, listen, the Giants have nothing to lose going into this game. You'd think maybe take a couple deep shots early, at least make the defense think that you're not like packing it in with the short area throws. Like take the top off early. Jalen Hyatt at 66-1. Some people looks like it's 75-1. By the way, before we get to the next gem, which I guess will be me, my favorite football movie is Any Given Sunday. It really is. It's truly my favorite football. Put your favorite football movie in the chat if you would. Make sure you've already hit the like button. If you haven't, definitely hit it. But let's bring up Willie Beeman from Any Given Sunday, because we need to rep BetMGM, the sponsor of this show. For those of you that don't already know, new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get a $200 bonus in bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 and you will receive $200. Again, $200 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE200. Well, there was somebody in the chat who mentioned Dawson Knox. And so that's who I'm going with. I think we see him get involved in these games early in the season. And a lot of times he's getting involved early in games. So this number, it's not super appealing, but I have a feeling that Dawson Knox is going to be kind of like the 1B to Stephon Diggs with this offense. At least tonight, I think that's going to be the case, with Gabe Davis maybe playing third fiddle in that rotation. So I really like Dawson Knox. We think the Bills are going to score the first touchdown. Plus 1,100, a decent number for a big, easy target for Josh Allen. All right, where are we going next? I think we obviously got to go to Prop Stars. Prop Stars, who you got?
I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. Yeah, couldn't turn this down. Plus 1,100, getting a starting running back as talented as Saquon. He's a threat to take it to the house anytime he touches the football. So, yeah, give me Saquon Barkley.
All right, Saquon, his long-awaited return. Allie is quoting Any Given Sunday, and she also quoted Allen Iverson earlier when we said the word practice. So, Allie obviously operating on all cylinders, like she always is. Larry, you got to go next. Like, you have no gem, but you haven't had an opportunity to make a lot of these picks. So I'm gonna make Coach Phil wait. Larry, you're next. What you got?
Well, I'm going with a tie for the best movie, either Invincible about the Eagles or the Kurt Warner story, which I just saw. They're both tremendous. But in terms of the gem, can you believe Darren Waller has a better price than the Bills defense? The Bills defense is worse odds than Darren Waller. But I mean, when you've got Von Miller and Greg Rousseau coming off the edge, you can maybe get Taron Johnson with a nice pick off of a jolting hit to Tyrod Taylor as he's releasing the ball. I think it's worth a shot here. Could be a feeding frenzy up there.
Could be a feeding frenzy. I don't hate that call at all. Certainly a non-chalky play from Larry, but then we go to Coach Phil, who is desperate to be in this club. I totally understand, Phil. Who you got?
Yeah, so I actually like the Jalen Hyatt type stuff, the 6,600. You should get odds on that. If you're going to pick somebody with plus 6,000, you should get 2, 3, 4 gems. Plus 3,000. Larry should get 3 gems. I mean, we got to start.
Now we're talking.
This is a little rudimentary of a game for me. It's a little, it lacks sophistication and intellect, so obviously when I have to pick a chalky thing, and there's no incentive to pick anything besides chalk, because everybody gets 1 gem per pick. So I'm just trying to get myself into the club here with Gabe Davis, who I do think is playing really good football at this point. He's a legit player, and I'm excited to watch him play tonight.
The guy with 0 gems says the game lacks sophistication.
It does.
I mean, what, like, this is the classic disgruntled employee argument that I dealt with as an attorney for 13 years. Anyway, listen, I think Gabe Davis is a really good pick. I do think that we're going to see Josh Allen try to air it out pretty early. So I think any of Dawson Knox, Gabe Davis, and Stephon Diggs are obviously they're good plays, but the fun ones, man, the fun ones are definitely on the Giants side. That is really exciting. All right. So we're going to get out of here a little early, but we always have to kind of loop around. And I want to get 15 seconds from anybody in terms of, hey, you know how you do it. Like, what is the most interesting thing? What is the most compelling thing that you're going to be paying attention to in this Giants-Bills game? And Maestro, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, one of the things that kept me off laying the big number with Buffalo is that it is Brian Daboll going back to Buffalo, and a lot of his assistant coaches, the GM, there's so many ties to Buffalo and Tyrod Taylor, of course. So I believe the Bills can run up the score if they want, but they can also call off the dogs and give up a garbage time touchdown to win by 14 and get out of there. So that's what kept me off. That'll be interesting to see tonight if there's any different approach given the relationships.
All right. And we'll go to AB. What are you looking for in this game?
Yeah, you know what? Maestro brought it up in regards to these coaches, right? And understanding these quarterbacks, that there are so many little nuances that they get, things that just Tyrod Taylor might not operate well with, that are really minuscule, that you might not even see on TV, but they kind of edge and force you there. Same thing with Josh Allen. So I'm fascinated to see that. And then obviously what we spoke about earlier in regards to Tyrod Taylor, how they move him out of the pocket, right? Create safety, short, safe passes. Watch that count his passes inside the pocket, outside the pocket.
Proppy, what you got?
I want to see how Buffalo's running back touches are allocated. I think James Cook is a much more talented running back than Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, certainly at this stage of their careers. I think James Cook can be a big part of this offense for the remainder of the season, but definitely needs to have an exclamation point on tonight. I'm also interested to see if Tyrod Taylor does get hurt, what Danny DeVito looks like a quarterback.
That's fantastic.
Jersey Mike.
Yeah. James Cook is somebody that you hope would be unleashed this week. I mean, he's only really enjoying just over 50% of the rushing touches because we know Damian Harris and Latavius Murray. I'm thinking now of like Bill Murray. Now I'm thinking of just actors on the field.
Caddyshack. I mean,
yes. But Coach Phil, we got to end with you because honestly,
Right.
Speaking of sophistication, you're the one that kind of starts this thing for us and you're the one that closes it for us because
Sure.
you're the coach. What are you looking for tonight?
I think that one underrated point about this is playing on the road at Buffalo in primetime. You got Bills Mafia getting lubricated all day long. You know, that place is going to be just absolutely rocking. And of all the places I've played, I've been with 7 teams. I don't think there's ever been a player crowd that like feeds off each other like synergistically and kind of creates a momentum. And now they have good players. So they really are at home. They're tough to beat. So I'm excited to see just the environment, you know, just seeing the offense get going. I'm expecting a fast start. I'm expecting the energy levels to be off the charts. I'm expecting the defense to be flying around. So, I mean, this is one of the premier venues to have a football game, especially right about now. You know, like that, it's football weather. It's going to be cold tonight. They're going to be popping out there. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, believe it or not, for me, you know, I think I'm most excited to see who steps up on the New York Giants side because I don't think we're going to learn anything from the Bills tonight. Maybe we'll learn something with respect to like James Cook and some of these other pieces that might not be getting enough run or as much run as we think. But there are so many receivers with this Giants team. And I'm waiting for one of these guys or 2 or 3 of these guys to really step up. And I don't know that we've seen that yet, but I got to think the coaching staff is really going to try to push some guys forward. I'm really curious to see how Tyrod does. I think he's a good dude. I'm wishing him well, but this is certainly a really bad spot for him. But I'm just looking to see, like, listen, it's a 15.5-point spread. Some of these Giants are going to show up and some of these guys are just not going to show up. And that's what I'm looking for just from a pure football standpoint. I want to see who flashes on the New York Giants side. If Josh Allen airs it out and he crushes this Giants team, that's great, but that's what we expect. So I don't think we learn anything in terms of how they stack up with some of the AFC Giants, no pun intended, in this matchup. I'll tell you what, I think that's going to be our show. You saw the bets up there, of course, that we have. A lot of good bets, even though this is a 15.5 point spread. You don't always have to take the side. You don't always have to take the total. We got a lot of props here. I think a lot of them are going to come through. And this is where I do the you've got your marching orders thing, except I got to lift it a little bit more and I go, you've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window. For the maestro, for Prop Stars, for AB, for Coach Phil. And by the way, shout out to AB for doing all the producing and for being an analyst, not only on this show, but on the 12 o'clock show. This guy is bringing it every single show. Thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for being so responsive. Thank you for asking all your questions. Thank you for hitting the like button. My name is Sia Najad, otherwise known as the Counselor, and we rest our case.